Here's a list of the top 10 fastest women ever. Thompson-Herah and Flojo are clearly far ahead of the other athletes. They are the only two who ever ran sub 10.6. I can't fail to acknowledge the legendary Jamaican Shelly Ann and Carmelita Jeter. Looking at this, we can see that majority of the fastest women on the planet are from the USA and Jamaica. There is a pattern here. The common denominator across these athletes is that they are all of African descent. They set the bar for what it truly takes to be considered the fastest women on the planet. But for a long period, sprinting was dominated by white women. Take Betty Robinson, for example, the fastest woman in the early 20th century, the first woman to win Olympic gold in the 100. She established the benchmark of speed when she clocked a hand-timed 12.2-second finish. It would take almost a decade for Fanny Blankers from the Netherlands to establish another great milestone, an 11.5 during her dominance in the 30s and 40s. These records would, however, be rewritten by Wilma Rudolph and Wyoming Attias in the 60s, who were both black women. Times kept changing, and as years went by, Marley Skur from East Germany would run an impressive 10.88 in 1977 to set a new world record, the first sub 10.9 in the 100, proving that white sprinters were still dominant in the 70s and 80s. Her record stood for 6 years, and it would be broken by Evelyn Ashford in 1983, who clocked 10.79. For 6 years straight, Marley Skur was the fastest woman on the planet. Her 6-year reign establishes her as one of the best European sprinters in history. As of 2026, Gore ranks 29th with a 10.81 personal best, proving how rapidly the sprinting world has evolved from the 80s to the 21st century. With the changes throughout the years, only 2 Caucasian athletes would better Marley Skur records: Russia's Irina Privalova and Bulgaria's Ivet Lalova. These 2 athletes climbed the all-time ladder to reach 18th place in one of sprinting's most legendary rankings. But there is a problem. Both athletes have a similar personal best of 10.77. This is the fastest time recorded by athletes of European descent. They have recorded the same time, in different races, in different centuries. So here's the big question. Who takes the crown as the fastest white sprinter of all time? To be considered an elite sprinter in the men's category, you have to at least run sub 10 seconds in the 100. Great A-list athletes manage to clock multiple sub 10s throughout their careers. Over in the women's division, the equivalent to A-list status would be running under 11 seconds. Only 167 female sprinters in history have managed to run 10.99 or lower. That's just 4.8% of all women who have ever ranked in the 100-meter all-time top list, but meaning the rest 95% of ranked competitors have never broken that barrier. Let's pick 9th-ranked sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson. She has broken sub 11 in total of 31 races. In comparison, 2nd-ranked Thompson-Herah has 61 results under 11 seconds. The higher ranking the athlete is, the more consistently they perform. 18th-ranked Privalova and Lalova have much less sub-11 performances. Irina recorded a total of 6 sub-11s, while Ivet Lalova recorded 2 during her peak. Irina Privalova clocked her fastest 100 as a 26-year-old in July of 1994.
Bon départ de Torrens qui part rapidement, de même que Privalova, mais Otis se bat maintenant. C'est Privalova pour l'instant. Toujours Privalova, le retour de Torrens. Première Privalova.
That 10.77 with a decent 0.9 meters per second tailwind was the opener for the 1994 season in Lausanne, Switzerland. Up until that moment, the closest she had ever come to such a mark was the year before, in 1993, when she ran 10.81 in Rieti, Italy. However, the 10.81 was way above the legal wind limit. The positive 3.8 tailwind aided that impressive mark, but it marked an improvement from the regular 11-second mark she had posted all season. Before diving deeper into what her career looked like, it's important to put it next to the other 10.77 in this conversation. Ivet's 10.77 came a full decade later in 2004, during the final of the European Cup, held in her home country, Bulgaria. It was a national record and her personal best.
Right of the screen, Ivet ran 10.77 seconds. The result elevated Lalova to joint 6th with Irina Privalova on the world all-time list.
The wind reading was recorded at a positive 0.7, slightly lower and very marginal difference compared to Privalova's race, where wind reading was plus 0.9. Unlike Privalova, Ivet was much younger when she recorded her PB. She was just 20 years old when she ran the best race of her life. But this early achievement was the best she produced throughout her career. Ivet began her career on a high. At 16, she began with a decent performance, clocking 12.14 to take first position in the under-18 national championships. The next year, in 2001, she broke sub-12 in the European Youth Olympics held in Spain, clocking 11.84. A month later, she qualified for the Junior Olympic International meet held in Austria, where she won her heat and also won the final. In 2002, she consistently ran in the 11-second range, and that steady progression carried into the 2003 season, culminating in a European Junior Championship title in the 100 and 200. She was 17 and had already bagged 3 first-place positions in Europe and nationally in the 60, 100, and the 200. When she turned 18 in 2004, we saw the best of her. She hit the 10.77 in June of that year, and 2 months later she qualified for the 2004 Olympics held in Greece. Running sub-11 and making it to the Olympics was the highlight of her career so far. Against all odds, she would qualify through the heats, quarterfinals, and semis. But unfortunately, she narrowly missed the podium after she finished 4th in 11 seconds flat. The 2004 season marked the peak of her career, and it would take 7 years before she ran another sub-11. To be honest, nothing major happened in those 7 years, like her career stagnated. She continued to win races at the national level, but on the international stage she struggled, often failing to progress beyond the heats or reach championship finals. At the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, she advanced through the heats and quarterfinals, but her run ended in the semifinals. 2011 started off strong. Through May, June, and July, she won 6 races, dropping results in the low 11-second territory and a surprise 10.96. The last sub-10 of her career, but she would bag a couple of gold and silver medals the following years. A gold medal at the 2012 European Championships and 2 silver medals in 2016 at the same championships. We would see her make it to her final Olympic Games in Rio 2016, where she finished 8th in the 200, a result that marked Lalova's last major footprint on the international stage. She remained a multiple-time national champion, appeared in smaller meets in the years that followed, and eventually hung up her boots in 2021 at the age of 37. As I was making this video a few days ago, news came in on January 22nd, 2026, that Ivet Lalova was found guilty of a doping violation following a retest of a 2016 sample. She last competed in 2021, meaning the decision doesn't change the current competitive landscape, but it does affect how her past results and the reputation she built as the fastest white sprinter are viewed. Unlike Lalova, who started her career with a bang, Privalova started decently with an 11.87 in August of 1985. She was age 19 by then. That season, she qualified for the European Junior Championships, but didn't get past the heats. Her rhythm would constantly hover around the 12 seconds range throughout the late 80s. But starting from the early 90s, she decided to go all in on improving her 100-meter sprint. At age 23 in 1991, she recorded her first ever sub-11, a 10.98 at the Oslo Bislett Games in July, then followed up a month later with a 10.99 at the semifinals of the World Championships in Tokyo. Privalova's biggest moment came the following year in 1992, after she made it to the Olympics and grabbed bronze in the finals of the 100, and a respectable 4th in the 200. This was the highlight of her career so far, a 10.84 that secured the podium finish, and it would only push her to better her records the following year, where she lowered her PB to 10.81. Privalova was competing across 5 events: 50 meters, 60, 100, 200, and the 400. Surprisingly, she performed amazingly across the board. In 1994, she won gold in the 100 and 200 at the European Championships held in Helsinki, then won gold in the 400 and 100 at the London IAAF Champs. 1994 was also the year she hit her PB of 10.77 in the 100, and just like Lalova, this single year was the highest peak of her sprint career. In 1995, she returned to the IAAF Championships, grabbed silver in the 200 and bronze in the 100. She was still posting multiple sub-11 results in the 100, proving she had what it took to contend for the 1996 Olympic Games. But it didn't go as expected. At those Olympic Games in Atlanta, she failed to qualify for the 100-meter final and did not record a single sub-11 performance that whole year. She had an awful start to the 1997 season. After a few preseason meets, injury shut her down for the rest of the year. When she returned in 1998, she still managed a second-place finish at the European Championships, grabbing silver with a 10.83.
Well, Tanu got away well, so did Privalova in the third lane. Privalova going well at the moment, and Privalova's leading at the moment, and Aaron will come through very strongly at the end, and Aaron coming through to take it from Privalova. Aaron wins it, Privalova gets the silver, and Tanu gets the bronze, 10 points.
By then, it felt like we had already seen the best of Privalova. who was now 30 years old. But in 2000, she made the biggest switch of her career, moving from sprints to the hurdles. And at 31, she won her only individual Olympic gold in the 400-meter hurdles at the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. This became the defining achievement of her career, revealing a sprinter who proved even stronger over the 400 hurdles. By that point, her focus had shifted almost entirely away from the 100. She stepped away from the track for 3 years and only returned in 2003. But by then, her grace was gone. Now 35, she stood on the cusp of retirement, which would come 6 years later. She continued racing at regional meets in her home country, Russia, before retiring from the sport in 2009 at 37 years of age. Looking back at Ivet Lalova and Irina Privalova side by side, they represent the highest level of sprinting ever reached by women of European descent. Both reached 10.77, a mark few women in history have achieved, but the path to that time tells two different stories. Despite the slight difference in wind, plus 0.9 for Privalova and plus 0.7 for Lalova, the result remains a tie. Both performances were well within the legal limit, and the 0.2 meters per second difference is too small to separate them meaningfully. Both times were achieved with legal tailwinds, and the marginal wind difference does not justify ranking one ahead of the other. But if the question is who was the faster sprinter overall, I would pick Privalova, because she sustained that level over several seasons and converted it into more medals. Both reshaped European sprinting standards, but in different ways. On peak time alone, it's a tie. But over a career, Privalova was faster.